We'll start with the tryouts. The Steelers brought in two guys in the last couple of days. Offensive tackle Eric Smith, 27 years old, spent a couple of years with the New York Jets, played sparingly. Not really a lot going on for him in his NFL resume. And then long snapper and former West Virginia standout Rex Sunahara, I believe his name is. He actually spent time on the team's practice squad in 2021. He's bounced around the NFL here and there. I think he spent 2020 and 2021 with the Miami Dolphins as well. Went to the XFL this past season. You look at either of these guys, one roster spot left. In my opinion, and when I texted you, like, hey, we should talk about this as well, my thought was a little bit of a wasted spot if these are the guys you're bringing in, especially the fact that in the last couple of weeks, they've already added two offensive tackles. And if you're going to beat out Christian Kuntz after 1 year being there and him looking a lot better in year two, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. What were your thoughts when you saw these guys?
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. I feel like tackle is a spot, and offensive line in particular is a spot that they have a lot of depth at. That's not
Mm-hmm.
really a high priority to me. Long snapper, I have the same thoughts. Like Christian Kuntz is very solid, and I feel like long snapper is also a position that if there's an emergency, if Christian Kuntz goes down with an injury or something like that, you'll have options later in the
Yep.
season. It's not a position that's going to get snatched up quickly, and that the free agent market is going to completely dry out.
Yep.
I feel like there's at least one position that I would have rather they kind of dove into a little bit and did some more homework there.
What's that position?
Well, I think it's safety, quite honestly. You
Oh,
look at
okay.
I know they've got some pieces there, but I'm not a huge Trey Norwood guy, and I feel like their meat on the bone might not be the right word, but I'm a little bit concerned about the depth there because I just
Yep.
don't think there's a whole lot behind. I guess it would be Peterson, Peterson and Minka really.
Yeah,
And
KZ,
KZ,
Neal.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there's
Neil
nobody.
isn't I feel like Neil's gonna end up playing, I guess, less of a safety. I feel like the way people have talked about him, he's figuring to play more of like a
Like a
strong,
hybrid.
yeah, hybrid, but looks more like a linebacker when you actually see him play on the field. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I feel like another ball hawk, a safety that can play in the middle of the field. I feel like that would be a better use of that last spot to me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one, especially with the Neal. I like your idea about Neal. And he even talked about it Thursday, Friday, maybe, about how, playing inside linebacker is not off the table. So I could definitely see him. And I actually expect him, like from the small glances that we've seen at practice, it's not really him playing a traditional safety role. So I agree with that one. KZ, I believe, is going to be solid, but I agree. Like Norwood, you want Norwood to turn into something. You feel like he's smart enough to turn into something, but he hasn't turned into anything. And
Mhm.
because of that, like we're hitting the point. This is year 3 of his career. Like, at what point do you just look at it and go, okay, we need somebody new? That's a good one. I haven't thought about safety much. You have Miles Killebrew, who's only a special teamer. You have plenty of cornerback depth. You've offensive line's ridiculous. Like, there's
Yeah.
no need to touch to even bring somebody in on, like, what is Eric Smith going to do here? Nothing.
Right.
He's not going to take any reps. We've already forgotten about guys like Dylan Cook,
Yeah.
who haven't. I forgot he's on the team. Like, and we're 2 weeks into practice. That's how deep it is. Like, if we're already talking about Dan Moore switching over to the right side and taking right tackle reps, what are these guys like? Are they competing for a roster spot? Because they're not. Like, you're
Right.
not going to be the fourth tackle in the Pittsburgh Steelers 53-man roster. That doesn't happen. Just doesn't make any sense. Long snapper, I agree with you. There's zero reason for Christian Kuntz to be off this team, especially year in. You have your kicker, you have your placeholder, you have your long snapper. Let it rock. There's no need for it. Safety'd be a good one. There's not really another like position on my mind, like inside
Mhm.
linebacker, I believe, but Mark Robinson has impressed me. And if
Mhm.
it is somebody at inside linebacker, I think it's like less of a name. It's
Mhm.
it's somebody to compete for that fifth spot with like a Chappelle Russell, just so that there's some competition there. Safety might be a sleeper. That really might be a good one, especially if Keanu Neal isn't like that. Like, he's a Terrell Edmonds, but could you imagine if you already had like a Keanu Neal and then you brought in somebody who could actually play free safety, behind Minka and play center field when need be, or switch in with DeMonte KZ? I don't know. Do you have a name
I have a few
free agent.
names,
Okay.
some of them more likely than others, like, Duron Harmon is still on the market,
Oh,
and he wasn't making a whole lot of money with LA last year. I think it was maybe a hair over $1,000,000. Landon Collins is also available, and Armani Watts. I feel like those guys are more likely, guys who maybe Watts is young, not past his prime, but Collins maybe is a little bit, but could be, I don't think he's really a starter in this league anymore, but could be willing to take a backup role in a way that Harmon can still really play. He's
yeah.
getting up there in age, but he had like 85 tackles, a couple picks last year. Collins and Watts feel like guys who could maybe look for a fresh start and just look for a place where they could maybe contribute and compete for even a backup job.
That's really not a bad idea either because they're both older, but at the point in their career where they'll be able to contribute off the bench in a small role. You know,
Right.
kind of like KZ last year. Like KZ was
Mhm.
29 years old. He wasn't really looking for a whole ton. You could come in here and just kind of be whatever they ask you to be. If Keanu Neal, like at that point, if you have four guys and you're able to work, because that's the thing is like versatility. I went on Locked On the other day and the theme was versatility is the best ability. And that's
Mhm.
so true. Like if you could play Keanu Neal at a number of positions and Patrick Peterson at a number of positions, and then you use KZ, Minka, and somebody else, like even if it is a Harmon, which I think is a great name, to just play like a true traditional safety role. That's a good one. What about a name like John Johnson? Will Young, 27, still on the market?
Yeah. I'm afraid that he's going to kind of dip into their it would cost him a little bit more, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they would wanna maintain some more flexibility with that cap space versus signing a big name like that, especially for someone who's very clearly going to be a backup, you know?
Do you think he like what at this point in time in free agency? Do you still think that he goes for a lot of money, or like you think that that price
Well,
tag could be negotiated?
it could definitely be negotiated, especially at this point, but I feel like there's similar levels of production that you could
Hmm.
get for cheaper, I think. So
Yes.
Johnson, I don't think would be a bad addition necessarily, and they obviously have some money to play around with, but you know, why, why spend more than you need to, I think would
Hmm.
I guess be my thought, but that's, not knowing where Johnson's head is at and what his camp is saying and how much money he's actually looking for.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, why are you still a free agent? You know, you're
Right.
27 years old. You're coming off good years. Why are you still a free agent? Just Duron Harmon's market value on Spotrac is to 1 year $2.9 million, which you know Omar Khan turns that into 1 year
Right.
$1.5 million, and
Right.
that is a beautiful signing. Like that
Yeah.
is
That'd be
as
perfect.
perfect. Yeah, it's as perfect as it gets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you expect Norwood to be the guy that would be bounced out there, or do you think Miles Killebrew's job is probably also
We
up for grabs?
Yeah, I think Killebrews would be probably more likely than Norwood because they've actually used Norwood as a safety, and Killebrew is, like you said, he's been kinda more relegated to a almost solely special teams role,
Yeah,
and I feel like that's like, Trey Norwood can do that, and he can, has experience playing safety and a little bit of corner too, so I feel like Killebrew would be the guy kinda on the chopping block.
yeah, yeah. I agree. This is a little. I did not expect you to say safety. Eyes are a little
Really?
open now because no, because I haven't thought about safety. I've just looked at it as in just
Mhm.
like they're good. They got three guys, but if you are like ready to use Keanu Neal all over the field, you do need somebody else. Like, and it's not
Mhm.
going to be Trey Norwood. You got to take Mink off the field at some point. He can't
Right,
play. You know, like last year he was banged up every single week, and you don't want that to happen again. You want these guys to be healthy. You
right.
already cleared up outside linebacker, inside linebacker. I mean, I still think you can make a splash there, but if you're not gonna, if Mark Robinson is a guy that you believe in, you know, you just wait it out. You know, like just
Mhm.
wait it out and grab another like real bad name right before training camp to have them compete, you
Yeah,
know, and get rid of one of these offensive linemen or something. And then besides that, this entire team is filled. So
right.
that's a good position to watch. I think we might be the only ones that have ever brought that up ever.
Really? Mm,
Maybe
well,
everybody I talk to is like safety. Why do you need a safety? And I'm like, yeah, no, you're kind of right. No, they're wrong.
yeah.
They're definitely wrong.
I'll let them know. Everyone can listen to this episode, and hopefully I change their
I was gonna
minds.
say they're gonna know that everybody's gonna listen
Mhm,
and be like, "Oh man, Steve, man, that's a good point.
mhm.
That's a good point." All right, safety. That's a good one. That's a good one. We'll see what happens.